Hello, everyone, and welcome to Module 2 of English 130. I hope that week 1 went well, and I wanted to spend some time this week just looking at what does it mean to read critically. It's so easy just to read text and not really read in a critical way. What does that mean? What is critical reading? How do we read a text or watch a video in this kind of setting? So today I'm going to give you some pointers and some tips for how to become a critical reader. I'm also going to have a PowerPoint presentation, and once that PowerPoint presentation is done, it will also be there on the lecture 2 of Module 2. So if you want to see the slides in more detail, they're there. You can download them, or you can watch them on this video. So let's go over to, let me share my screen. Let's go over to the PowerPoint, and let's see here. Let's start at the beginning. So English 130, and we're going to talk about really this whole next few weeks. We're trying to make a case for why writing well matters. I know it can be frightening and worrisome to like, oh, I'm not a good writer. I wasn't born this way. We're trying to break out of that habit. We're trying to have a growth mindset this quarter, right? We're going to watch a video on growth mindset for our discussion this week. And we want to see why writing well matters. It helps you to be a better communicator, a better thinker. And so part of why writing well matters is that we're writing more than ever, right? You're at work, you're writing emails, you're writing memos, you're making presentations, you're working with patients and you have to write notes on that. Everything we do nowadays, especially with social media, we're doing so much more writing. And writing makes you a better communicator, because if you've got things going on in your head and you want to get them out, you've got to be able to communicate them. And writing helps you to organize those thoughts in a thoughtful manner. And also, obviously in college, we're trying to make everybody better able to get a job, to be more job marketable. And the number one thing that businesses are looking for is employees who have great communication skills. And writing well will help you with your communication skills. It'll help you to be a more productive employee and a more confident employee in your job. And so we're going to be working on this. You're going to be working in your My Writing Lab to work on kind of the grammar and the basics of writing. And then in our assignments and our discussion board, we'll be working with the flow of writing, how to write a paragraph, how to write an essay. So for week 2 and week 3, we're working with the same article, which is on Blackboard in Module 2 of your assignment. We're going to read an article, and week 2, we're going to summarize it. And in week 3, we're going to do an analysis of it, which these two things are different. And I'm going to kind of explain that to you as we go along. But what basically is the difference between being a critical reader and a non-critical reader, right? So if you're a non-critical reader, you're just reading through. It's kind of like when you're going through your Facebook post. You're kind of just skimming through the articles, skimming through what people are saying. You're kind of taking the information in. Who ate what, who did what, who, fired who this week, right? You're getting the facts. You're not really thinking, okay, are these facts reliable? Are they true? Let me go check 7 other sources to see if they're true, right? You're just kind of passively taking in the information. And it's a very reactive way of reading. You see something someone says and you're like, I don't agree. That's terrible. How could anyone say that, right? You react so quickly. A lot of social media is very non-critical reading, right? Because people are just reacting to whatever they think and believe and whatever, and it comes out. Critical reading, however, is very active. It's very engaged. You're asking questions. How is this written? Why was this written? Where did they get this information? Are there reliable sources to back up this information? You're skeptical. You want to learn more about this information. There's a purpose to your reading. So this session, we're going to become critical readers. We're going to read for substance, for why the author is saying what they're saying. And in order to do this, there are steps involved, which we're going to go over. But first, I just want to kind of summarize, right? That when you're a critical reader, you're seeing an author's perspective, a certain author or a certain director, if it's a video, of their perspective of whatever they're trying to get across. And you recognize that this is one person's perspective or one group of people's perspective. And your goal is to not only understand what they're trying to say, what is their argument, but you're also trying to recognize any bias, any way where they're maybe only trying to show you one side of the story instead of the other side of the story too. They're only seeing everything from a certain point of view. That's active reading. So you're looking for the argument, you're weighing the evidence, and then you're looking for conflict of interests, right? Things that, I don't know if I totally agree with that. Where is that coming from? Can they back that up? That's critical reading. And kind of the steps to critical reading that I would suggest, and your book goes into some detail about this as well, which we'll look at. But first, I would suggest you just read the text. Print it out. Read the text quickly. Skim for the main ideas. Just get the main ideas. Then in the second reading, this is when you get a pen, pens, pencils. Everybody has a different way. I underline words in red that I don't know. I write in purple in the margins questions to myself. And I write facts down in pink. That's just my thing. Everybody has their own way of annotating, which is what it's called. And so you're going to annotate the text. It's more of a meditative reading. You have a pens in hand. You're taking time. You're thinking through things. This would take a lot longer than your first reading, which is a preview. Then the third time you read it, you kind of review. What were some of the questions you had? Maybe you want to think about those questions more. That's when you can look up unfamiliar words that you had highlighted in red or whatever color. And then in your fourth reading, your final reading, that's when I would suggest you write your summary. That's what we're doing this week. So in your fourth reading of our article, you will be responding. So you will be maybe writing 4 or 5 sentences. What did the author say? What was their main purpose? And that's what you would write in that fourth reading. You would either talk to someone, explain to them what the author said, or you personally would write down what the author said. This week, we're going to write it down. When I talk about in the second reading where you're annotating, this is annotating. What does annotating mean? It's a method of writing down your ideas of a text, and everybody has their own method. So you can write all over the place. You can just underline things. It depends on what works for you, but you want to ask yourself a lot of questions. You want to train yourself to be an active reader. You got to be asking questions constantly. And so you're trying to get an idea of when you're annotating the text of what's going on. So in summary, in college, you will be expected to read critically everything you read. Every video you watch in this course, everything you read, I want you to read it with a grain of salt, thinking, what can I get from this? What is the author saying? How can I tear apart or pick apart some of these ideas? Instead of just oh, this is interesting ideas. These are cool ideas. Try to think, how can I go deeper to what this author is saying? To be a critical reader, you need to be probably in a quiet setting. It's not going to work. I have 4 kids. So I have them all the door locked right now because they're home. It's not going to help if they're running around the room and you're trying to read critically and they're throwing toys and they're screaming, right? So wherever you need to go to find a comfortable work environment, might have to be at a lunch break, at a quiet coffee shop, after the kids go to bed. I would suggest when you're trying to be a critical, engaged reader to find a comfortable setting. Then follow those 4 steps that I talked about. Figure out your own system. This is your time to figure out your system to annotate and make sure you're reading without distraction. And so for module 2, assignment 2, you're writing a 1-paragraph summary of an article called Head in the Instagrammed Clouds. It's by a woman who was at Harvard, a Harvard student, and she's just writing about social media and what it's doing to her. And you're going to write a summary of that for your module 2 assignment. Then in module 3, you're going to write the critical analysis where you're more engaging with the text, where you're not just summarizing what the author said, but you're also saying what you think about the text and what you agree with and you don't agree with. So in a summary, you don't put in your own thoughts or own ideas. You're just writing in your own words what the author said. But in analysis, which we're doing in week 3, then you start to engage. Excuse me. Then you start to engage with the text, right? And that's when you're like, I agree with this and I agree with that, but I don't agree with this. And they could have had more to back up this point, or to say this, or I don't agree with any of this article, or this is, so we'll talk more about that next week. I wanted to show you something in your textbook. So if we go back to my other screen here, and in your online writing, if you look in chapter 26 for reading, there's a part on page 460 where it talks about summarizing and paraphrasing. So 460, it's chapter 26, one of your chapters for this week. So in week 2, we're reading chapter 4 and chapter 26. And there's a whole section in here on page 462 about summarizing. And they even give you a sample summary. I also give you a YouTube video in the lecture for Module 2 on how to write a summary. So you've got 2 ideas there. You can look here, although they do quote from the article in this summary. And on the YouTube video, the author suggests you don't quote during a summary. It's okay. You can quote one time if you'd like. But the most important thing in a summary is that you write it in your own words, that you're not writing it in the author's words, but your own words. There's a paragraph here to explain that. And also, if you look in chapter 4 of your part 1, chapter 4, reading critically, it'll give you some more ideas here. So if we look, I think on about page 38, they'll give you some strategies of how to annotate, right? We talked about how to mark up the text, right? And how to be more of a critical reader, how to analyze the text, right? And what we're looking for. So this will give you some more ideas for how to be a critical reader. So I really want you to focus on reading chapter 4 and chapter 26. Then, watch these videos, watch the summary video, do your discussion post, then start to work on your paragraph. So in that order. So I think it'll be a great week, and I'm excited for working together. And if you have questions, remember, you can text me. It's on the welcome page. You can email me. We can meet live if you want to go through some things. I can look at your papers in advance. If you want me to look at your paragraph before Sunday, I'm happy to do that. You can email it to me. I want this to be as productive of a session for you as it can be, okay? So I hope you have a great week. And I will, let's get rid of this. And we will, I'll have more videos throughout the quarter, the session. Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.